what, with your experience and maybe the three of us together, can we give some insight into the real challenges that SMEs, the risks that SMEs are seeing at the moment? Where would you say, yeah, I don't know if it's as easy to say top three, I don't know, but you know, what are some of the risks that SMEs are seeing?
Well, okay, I think the first thing that I'm sort of trying to bang the message home, for want of a better word, is about knowing your customers, and I think it's just become even more key. I always went on about it anyway, but I think post-pandemic, I think it's becoming more important. There's more. You've got to rely more on your internal data, not just external data. And I think that the risk for SMEs is that they still don't do enough due diligence on their existing customers or their, prospective customers. So I think risk number one for me is literally understanding who you're dealing with, what liabilities they've got. I've heard a lot of SMEs don't even ask what sort of government-backed schemes have helped support their customers through the pandemic. I think risk number one is understanding that financial data. I don't want to talk about it too much because it gets boring after a while, but that would be number one risk for me. Is just making sure you know your customer and understanding what liabilities they have since the pandemic started.
It's also knowing your customers by the sounds of it, like you said, what liabilities they've got. And by having, one of the things that I've seen a huge difference is, even to begin with, in the early days of us going into this pandemic, was the drive to speak more to your customers verbally, if I'm honest, as well, or maybe an email, to have more of those conversations about how's business, how are you seeing the effects of COVID on your business? Do you find that there's particular trigger points? Whereas it was almost a bit, I don't really know if I should be having conversations with about that. I'm going to provide a service and that's it. So
absolutely, Dan. No, I've done a few credit application forms with some SMEs recently, and we have created a COVID questionnaire. There's no point in avoiding the subject because, data companies like yourself, you've got to wait for people to file their accounts and everything else. But, when people want credit, they want it straight away. So, you need to have that information to hand and you need to ask those open questions. So I know a lot of people are embarrassed to do so, but you shouldn't be. At the end of the day, you're supplying on credit, so you're expected to get paid for something you're supplying now at a later date. So
it's better to have that conversation now, isn't it, than when it gets a problem? So
correct, absolutely right. So that would be, to me, is risk sort of number one. I think supply chain at the moment, I think with Brexit adding to it, we all know that our costs are going up. Whether you look at fuel, whether you look at timber, I'm not an expert in this area, but we all know that actually the availability and price of things is becoming more and more of a challenge. So, if you've got an SME that, I don't know, is in construction, for example, you can't get hold of cement or timber, it's going to be a problem because you can't complete jobs, you're not going to get paid for it, you've still got to pay your workforce. So depending on what industry they're in, there are those challenges. So that's another risk. And then of course we've got the repayment of all of these government-backed schemes, which is we all know started in May, I think it was, and some have been extended, but furlough ends at the end of September. And those people who did have a job have now probably not got a job, and there's challenges everywhere, Dan, and I could sit here and mention a load of them. But labour shortages is another one, isn't it? We're all hearing about. I heard that a big, basically British Airways are paying or giving their pilots, can you believe this, a interest-free loan or something to actually go and do a HGV license. Can you believe that? So to help out with transportation. So it's a massive shortage. So especially drivers. So again, it's going to have a massive hit on people's supply chain. So
I don't know about you. It's one of the things that I didn't realistically see was as much of a problem when you're talking about the labour side of it and that sort of thing, until, as many of us did, having staycations, over the recent month, and went to Cornwall, and the structural side of our stay was fantastic where we stayed, but the ability to be able to get staff in that hospitality sector was dramatic. I mean, the level of service that we had was verging on appalling, and that wasn't down to the individuals that were there. It was that there was the lack of management because they couldn't get the people, or they'd only been there 2 weeks and then they decided to move on because the situation was really bad. They were apologizing, like you say, from a supply chain point of view. Oh, we haven't been able to get this in this week, or we haven't been. And unfortunately, sometimes when you're paying money for a service that is detailed, you want to get what's on the tin, and when the tin isn't full because of whatever reason, you can't get the staff, you can't get the products, you can't get the supply chain, then you sort of think, well, I'm doing my bit, I'm paying that amount of money, I'm doing what I said, but you're not doing that bit. And I think that it was real eye-opener. I mean, we certainly didn't when I spoke to the manager of the hotel at the end of the stay, I wasn't rude in any way, but I can understand where he's coming from. But equally, I think he quite literally understood he was getting this with pretty much everybody, is that, what can we do? We're trying to make the best of a bad situation. And like you say, Martin, in the construction industry as well, I know that a good friend of mine as a builder, then he was saying we're really having to start to think differently, whereby we're thinking that much ahead of not whether we can do the job or we can necessarily even get the manpower, but it was more so about, like you said, the supplies, and can we get that, and can we then finish that job? Because with the construction industry, when you get to a certain point, it's like a conveyor belt, isn't it? Then you need that before you can do that. So it's a real change of mentality. I found from speaking to the SMEs that we deal with.
Sorry, Martin. I was say, I think that's where our project is going to be very, very useful, because at the moment there is so many pressures on small businesses, as you say, to run the business, get the supplies, build the product, build the service, and then deliver it. What about the finance side? It's becoming secondary, but of course that's keeps the business going, the finance side. So it's they've got so many balls in the air at the moment. We're actually going to help, perhaps go in there and help them make sure they don't drop some of those balls, and perhaps if we can bring in some more help along the way. So.
Of course, then we have got the risk of increasing insolvencies. There's no way of getting away from that as well. And you'll know that the amount of new company registrations sort of went to a hike, I think, in the first half of 2020. It has slowed down now. But we've got lots of zombie companies out there, and lots of let's be honest, Phoenix companies, and lots of new companies where people have been made redundant and are starting up because they're disgruntled or whatever that may be. So they're going to be looking for credit or finance. So it's going to put added financial pressures on the market.
Yeah, and do you know what? One of the things that it's a very good point, Matty, as well. One of the points that was raised to me on a forum actually as well was that you've got those. So let's look at the scenario. So we get made redundant, and you get a nice package. So therefore, you think, do you know what? I'm going to go and fair play for that entrepreneurial spirit. You go and say, I'm going to do that business that I've always wanted to do because I can do it from home. I've got the time, I've got the money, I've got the resource, and I'm going to go and do it. So you then go and do it, and it may be the first time you've run your own business, and then you realize just how much work it is and how much of the other stuff you have to do to come with it. So then someone, as the industry starts going again, then someone from maybe, that you knew in the industry before that you're in, they say, oh, Bob, why don't you come back and do this for me? And you think, I've had a go at this, I didn't really like it. I think I'll go back to my old industry. So I think that one of the things that we were looking at was that actually you can see these smaller companies, these I'm trying to think what the name is for them now as well, but you sort of your smaller one-man band,
micro businesses.
Yeah, you know, that are really, I can't put the word is, but equally they then say, do you know what? Actually, I've been doing that for 7 or 8 months. I found that that's really hard. Do you know what? I'm going to shut the company down and I'm going to go back to an easier life, supposedly. So then, okay, that limited company may have debtors, you know, that are all of a sudden shut down. So there's not even, for example, the fact that you can predict the company was maybe doing okay, you know, and it was growing, but actually because it, you know, it's another option has come, then without any foresight, then boom, you know. But then equally, like you said before, Martin, as well, by having those conversations with people to sort of say, keep in touch with your customers and maybe understanding them that those pressures, then you can maybe have a closer bond with them and you can stand as good a chance as you can. You're not going to get everything, but maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see more acquisitions or mergers, whatever you want to call them, as well. So again, that comes with some risks for whoever's supplying them or supply chains. So so look, there's lots out there. I don't want to scaremonger anything, but let's be honest. If you just need to be aware of those risks and understand that the risk of what you're taking on and calculate that. Yeah, that's it, really.
Yeah, especially because people are just surviving in a number of cases, and they're not necessarily thinking about, like we've just talked about, all the change that's going on. Yeah, exactly.
That's the zombie company for you.
Yeah. So one of the things that you two are both very experienced is obviously the forums and that type of thing. And one of the things that I've been really lucky to be part of is a number of the forums. But equally, we've moved from this basis of having very close relationships with the people that attend these forums, and now we've gone completely virtual, as with many things. Do you foresee, Laurie, if you don't mind me asking you, do you foresee when that you will come back to some sort of, I don't know, hybrid, or coming back to what's your prediction?
It's a very, very interesting question. We've spent many hours discussing this. We've also put a survey out, and the survey was, do you want to still stay virtual? Would you like to go back to face-to-face, or would you like us to do hybrid, which is a combination of the two? And what we ended up with was a third. So it didn't actually give us any guidance at all on what.
There's an answer in itself, yeah.
But we got so many comments as well, and everybody had their own ideas. So what we decided, I'm actually going to be running my first hybrid meeting in December. We have an international telecoms group, and they will never all come together in one room anyway. So, so hybrid is be right for them. But for the other forums, we're gonna kick off. We're doing hybrids in January.
What does a hybrid consist of then? What is, you know, you've either got everybody in the room, or you've got everybody virtually.
So there'll be both. So you can choose. You'll have the option, and
the technical issues could be a challenge. Put it that way.
Yes, we're doing a lot of investigations on that at the moment. But yes, those who would like to come face to face, the facilities will be there. Those who can't come face to face for whatever reason will be able to join via Zoom, and we'll be mixing the two together and give it a try and see how it works. We have some concerns, and our concerns is that people say, "Yeah, I'm coming," and then decide on the morning that they're not, and then will come in virtually. But I'd also say on the other side, running virtually has been really, really good for us, because it's expanded our marketplace, if you like. Marty did a forum a few months ago, and he had somebody from Lego. Yes, Lego, fine, but they're Lego in Moscow. And then we had somebody from Indonesia, India, China, and we've now got more interest on a global basis, because people can join and at some strange times as well.
Love that.
So I don't see us ever going back to being pure face-to-face. I think there'll have to be a virtual element, which makes it a hybrid. otherwise we'll be shutting people out, and that's not what we want to do. So, but yes, we can have our fingers crossed in January, and we hope it's going to work. We'll be doing some tests beforehand, but
best of luck with that. Brilliant.
I think also with we can actually get a bigger array or variation of presenters as well with offering hybrid, because sometimes presenters are not going to want to travel to London, Manchester, Birmingham, wherever they're located. It could be a hike for them. So we can actually, with using good technology, we can actually get good presenters and a lot more, as I said, lot more different people. How about that?
It makes sense, doesn't it, as well? If you've got that, you're in a room, whether you're in a room or whether you're connecting virtually, and you've got someone who is, presenting from Moscow or whatever it may be, then whereas you wouldn't have been able to, it would have been very difficult to do that in the past for a number of reasons, then actually it gives you, it's one of the positives to come out of this, isn't it? It's brilliant. I love hearing things like that.
But one of our challenges, and as you know, with our forums, we want to make them as interactive as possible. We don't want people just be coming on and it's like watching a film, that's or watching BBC News or something. It's got to be interactive. So whatever we do, we've got to be able to still do that interactive part of it. And technology does help us do that. We just got to make sure it's we deliver.
And I've heard. Go on, sorry.
I'm just going to say, obviously we're looking at certain venues, as we speak, because we need to have that technology to be able to do it. So not everyone's got that capability.
Yeah, true. And I've heard a little rumor. I don't know if it's true, but every time, every new forum now, Martyn's wearing a different fancy dress costume. Is that correct, or is that just a rumor? No, just a rumour, is it? I would like to put that as my feedback. For the forums that I attend, Martyn must wear a different, and I'm not talking fancy dress by a Tottenham shirt. We're talking, he's like, we went there.
All right, Dan, I'll have a look through my wardrobe, all right? Just for you, starting in January, I'll put it on the Christmas list.
Okay,
some outfits, okay? All right?
Just be careful, Martyn, this is being recorded.
So I understand, if I'm right in thinking, that there's some new forums coming out. Yes. Would you be kind enough just to let some people let us know what's coming our way?
I'll give you a quick summary. Well, it's a new old, if you like. We've been running an SAP user group since 1998, would you believe?
Wow.
And we've helped hundreds of companies go through the plan to implement, upgrade, or use their system better, if that's good English. But I think it's run its course. So we've now, with Martyn and John Swan's help, we've now come up with a new concept and a new forum. It's being launched on the 22nd of September, and it's called the Order to Cash Process Improvement Group. And this group is there to cover the whole order to cash cycle. So it'll go from accounts receivable, it'll even include accounts payable, automation. It will still have SAP in there, cash allocation, cloud, digitization, automation, AI, RPA, dispute management, training, outsourcing, collections, credit. The list is endless. And we've, as I said, we're kicking this off on the 22nd of September. We've got a few speakers who are going to be doing some very, very short sessions just to give the people a flavour. And then, but the interest level has been massive.
And what type of people are? I mean, if someone's listening to this or watching this and they say, well, I don't know, it seems, to be fair, that seems a ridiculously long list. Is massive, brilliant. But equally, Oh, I don't know whether I fit into that. What type of people, you're saying that you've had great interest, and what type of people should be joining this group?
Well, sort of two types of people, let's say. We obviously it'll probably be slightly different in terms of partners, because one of the things we want to do for the people that are coming along, the attendees, is not to have just one partner in maybe a particular area of the order to cash process. So for example, we wouldn't just have let's say ESCA for automation. We may have ESCA and somebody else and somebody else. So it gives the attendee the option to talk to a few suppliers of that particular product, or that part of the process. So that's the first bit we're looking at, is the sort of partners, or what we call suppliers in the industry. Yeah. Okay. And then we've got, hopefully a mass of credit managers, order to cash process people, at any level completely. It's not aimed at any senior leadership or director level. It is purely for anyone that's involved with the order to cash process, and it could be all of it, it could be part of it. So we hopefully will attract shared service centers, process leads, credit managers, credit controllers, cash allocation people. It doesn't really matter. So and I think the other perfect part of it is that this is like an independent group. So again, like the SME one we're launching, we're looking for people to come along and share their ideas, share their issues, their everyday problems, and to be able to speak to industry experts, so other credit managers, other order to cash people, and other suppliers, to help them to resolve that problem. So, for example, I hear a lot that people won't implement automation because they feel that they haven't got the expertise, or they'll never get it past the board, or never get the sign off for it. So they don't even bother to try and create a business case. So we're trying to create that someone can come along and say, look, could somebody help me to create a business case that could get past the board, that type of thing. So it's literally open to anybody in the industry. And I think, as Laurie said, we've had a great deal of interest in it. Lots of senior people have come forward and said, I really want to join in with this one. But it's not just for them, it's for any experienced or not very experienced people.
I had somebody on Friday, I won't say which company, but they're a major IT manufacturer, and they come on and said, could we send 4 people along, and 2 of those are in their order to cash team in the US. So they said, bring them on, please, because we want people to come to that first meeting and give us their feedback, because that will help us develop the format of it as going forward. So
I suppose that's the thing, isn't it?
It's quite exciting. So,
come along and try it, rather than think that you're not. Oh, I don't know if that fits me. Then come and find out, and then the easier thing to do is to then say, look, it's not for me, but I'm sure that they'll find that it is. So I've got one last question, only because that we asked this back in February 20 when we did the last one, which was predictions, gentlemen. So getting your Mystic Meg glass balls out. Is there some predictions that you can see in regard to the credit industry? What do you think is the next 3 to 6 months looking like?
I think we touched on it earlier, didn't we? I think obviously we did mention about the supply chain problem and the labour shortage. I still see that being a problem because although we are a year and I can't remember how long we're into Brexit now. I think it's about a year and 3/4, is it? And these problems are now starting to crop up, and there's still going to be more. But the tsunami of insolvency that we expected, we haven't seen. And I will say the word yet, because I'm still expecting to see, maybe not a tsunami, but I'm certainly expecting to see an increase in insolvencies. So how everyone's been saying, it's going to happen this quarter, next quarter, but I think once furlough's over and some of these loans have got to be repaid, it's going to happen. I think it's going to take a while to have the knock-on effect. So yeah, look, Mystic Meg, it's such a difficult question, Dan, to know. I think borrowing is going to become more difficult. We know that the housing market is let's just say is a bit artificial at the moment. I would say it's inflated prices. So people are probably borrowing money to buy their houses, and yeah, you know what? If you look at it, it's quite scary what could happen. And I'm not an economist, but yeah, money's going to become tighter, in my opinion, and inflation's going to go up. And yeah, so any thoughts, Laurie, or what do you think?
Well, I tell what came into my mind, actually. Would you believe the title of a song by The Who called Don't Get Fooled Again? Because if you put go back to February, was it only last year, 2020, nobody knew that we were going to get into the pandemic, and nobody knew what the effects of that was going to be, and nobody knew that we actually were going to end up being a world driven by Zoom and Teams and all of the other things. But talking to all the credit people that we know, we realize how much people have learnt a lot, how much they've been creative. They've still produced the results. I think they've become better teams and better credit professionals. I suppose my parting message is don't get fooled again, because we still don't know what's coming around the corner, and the pandemic is not over yet. Businesses are not all back in their offices yet. Some businesses will never ever go back into their offices ever again, and they'll end up being virtual teams for ongoing. And so I think we've just got to have an open mind, and we've got to be creative, and we've just got to look at these things as they come. And if your crystal ball's working, you can see them coming, great. If you can't, you just got to work on them when they arrive. So it's but I believe passionately about the credit profession, and I think we'll help businesses get through this. So
brilliant. Well, on that note, I think that's a perfect opportunity to thank you both for your time and your input. We're going to put this out there into the world for social media. It will also be available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So if you want both Laurie and Martyn's details, they will be on the stream of this as well. And I believe that they can get anybody that's interested in wanting to talk to you, not only through this SME project, may I say, there'll be a lot ongoing that. And again, that's the 29th of September is the next event on that. But also if they want to get in touch with you about any forums that are going on, and certainly the Order to Cash new forum, then they can do so via Forums International as well, can't they? So so please get in contact with these two lovely gentlemen if you want to, and thank you again for all your time.
Thank you very much for inviting us. Great, it was great. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Pleasure as always. Stay safe, gents. Take care.